I-007 as wintry weather hits Alaska. So do many demanding situations strike its Ted Stevens International Airport, ranging from treacherous climate that drops underneath zero to wildlife attacks. The fifth busiest cargo hub on Earth needs to be open regardless of the calamities. Each face is not the best that, but the EYS airport additionally welcomes thousands and thousands of passengers each year, as it is the prime gateway to Asia. 032 Alaska is America's maximum northern, coldest, and wildest state, and its size is 2 times as huge as Texas. It's home to bears, moose, and hundreds of birds that pose a major chance to aviation. So the airport has a committed wildlife management group, the EYS Department of Agriculture. Biologist Spencer Nelson heads the group. It's late October and a top time for flora and fauna interest, 057, before winter's big freeze. The first target for Spencer's daily patrol is Alaska's largest predator, the ominous black and brown bears. In the fall, hungry bears desperate to fatten up for the winter are drawn to the airport through the smell of food. When this type of situation arises, Spencer states that they have got to put an emergency shutdown at the runways. 120 hungry bears will dig beneath the airport's 13-mile perimeter fence. To get in, Spencer has to locate any breaches earlier than winter arrives and fix them before they all disappear beneath the thick blanket of snow. This isn't focused on Spencer winters. Onset means masses are migrating, birds are flocking around the primary terminal that could crack a wing or even ruin an engine. 142 Spencer usually attempts his high quality to convince the ducks to retain migrating south, even if he has to use stricter measures like firing a cracker shell to scare them away. Traditional Firmegametrics fail to scare them away. Spencer spends a third of his time in the fall making the airspace choke loose, but very quickly. Alaska's intense weather will do the job for him. 2 weeks later, the explicit shipment is due in Cincinnati in the following 24 hours. However, one of the aircraft's engines has a mentioned fault, an oil leak each hour. The aircraft is not moving cargo. Expenses, an estimate of $36,000 league technician. Jared Corley has the extensive mission of replacing the 6-ton, 12 million engine to overcome Alaska's checking out climate trailer, a weapon. 228, a giant inflatable tent. His idea is that the employees hit the engine for 5 to 10 minutes and then get warm within the tent for the following 5 to 10 minutes to stay safe. Jared detects the problem vicinity and states that they've had to restore it, right? Even if it takes 12 hours, because the whole concept is the safety of the people, even if it charges up to $500,000 because of Polar's recognition, and the lowest line will go through. Ever the mentioned trouble isn't always an old to new swap. 258. They want to switch some elements of the antique engine to the only multi-million-dollar engine ready within the workshop. McDonald's. First, they need to attack the vintage tailpipe exhaust system, fabricated from nickel alloy which is designed to face up to 50 kilos of thrust at a 1,000-degree temperature, ex-Naval Air Force engineer. 317 Sean Halsey is overseeing the installation. He mentions that a dent or crack in this precision-engineered exhaust might break it. For 500 miles, it may be $1,000,000 put-off, so no probabilities can be taken. Anchorage's air traffic manipulate tower is in communique with an American Airlines 77, considering that Evan on path from Los Angeles to Shanghai. 340A, clinical emergency has been taken on board as a passenger reports chest. Payne's Police Sergeant Skepnek is responding to the emergency named simplest 5 hours into the 14-hour flight and with 300 miles for to cross the Pacific Ocean. Ted Stevens is their remaining airport for an emergency landing on U.S. soil. 359. The Anchorage's Hearth Branch. Medics additionally race to the runway if the passenger's condition has deteriorated due to the fact that they declared an emergency landing. He can also need resuscitation at the airport. The affected person and check his vitals. The group is prepared for the worst. The affected person is semi-conscious and nonetheless needs clinical interest. 420. The affected person is rushed to the Anchorage sanatorium and in 60 minutes. The floor crew has the flight and its 200 passengers again within the air. Ted Stevens' flight at the planeway, it is now not handy as folks who need to land for the sake of their fitness. Handling manager Maya Ayola Tuna is watching for a unique arrival, a pig charter. 441. The pigs are flying from Chicago to China and want a breather earlier than heading on Maya opens each cargo bay to make certain the pigs get a huge whiff of Alaska. She additionally opens the aircraft's nose cone for that reason. and after 20 minutes of cooling off, refueling, and clean, the pigs are equipped to take off. 4:58. Late mornings inside the fall are darkish in Alaska in a single day. Almost a foot of snow has blanketed the airport that could pose a hurdle for the incoming. Aircraft controllers start their 8-hour shift. They face a capability disaster. The 10-person day shift, led via Patrick Berge, faces a large check, landing 50 planes inside the next 2 hours with an upcoming calamity. 5:21 A new typhoon is on the horizon. A niced runway could close down the complete runway, forcing the planes to divert loads of miles and inflicting Ted Stevens to lose millions of bucks. In terms of revenue, Patrick indicators each airport. On the shoulders of the airfield preservation team, the 100-plus women and men paintings 24/7 to keep the 33 million square toes of lively runway clear of the 6 million. Tons of snow that falls each 12 months that day. Brendan Knox, the airfield upkeep foreman, had a massive project in the front of him. 5:58 Brendan has 20 years of revel in with Alaska's worse climate and 100 million well worth of specialized systems, like plows, snowblowers, and de-icers, to name just a few of the airport, has by no means been closed for weather. The first step is to discover how icy the runways. Sensors on Brendan's truck 617 check each component of the floor conditions. The maximum critical is floor friction Brendan's. The maximum critical is floor friction Brendan's PC measures the braking conditions on a scale of 1 to 100. Anything 40 and above is going to be proper, braking beneath that restriction. They should close down the floor till it is handled to get the braking action to a safe level to the polar air. 74. 6:38 the slave is attached with 60 bolts, and that single bolt can motive fatal. 6:49 he should have to scrape the engine, Trent Levidian Nick. Angelopoulos should paintings with the complete group to lower the 6. Ton engine properly. Also out at the runway is Eagle Eye Scott Harris from the airport operations team, a 20-year Air Force veteran. Scott would not make the 3 runways operational till they met his protection standards. 7:07. The most deadly climate the airport can face is freezing rain, when the air temperature is above freezing but the floor temperature is under. Freezing, a sheet of ice can cover the runway in seconds. Brendan and Scott crew up to guard the airport from the imminent catastrophes, deploying the $1 million fleet of de-icers as a preemptive degree to keep the airport open. 7:28. Suddenly, Scott spots that the slick ice has caused a 2-tone roadblock on a route for Brendan's. Caesars, a TSA agent's truck, is standing as an obstacle, causing the blockage. Soon, the truck receives freed, and the get right of entry to Avenue is apparent for traffic. Now, Brendan's crew have to race to the runway as 25 aircraft are due to 7:54. Need to divert, so Brendan throws everything he has on the icy runway. They blast 3 gallons of diesers, costing 16,000 greenbacks onto the 2 miles of the runway. But with planes waiting inside the sky, they are now not transferring fast enough to carry the small craft from point A to point B. It will take 15 minutes to transfer the small craft to Brendan. As pilot Brendan has performed all he can, airside visitors, 814 Control offers the first plane clearance to land, and until the aircraft touches down, they're no longer positive. How well the Deosaurs have worked sooner or later, the crew exceeded Winter's first check because the aircraft landed adequately on the Deosy runway. In the meantime, for the Polar Air 7477, the crew has to add a metallic body across the engine to trap its tremendous weight whilst it is released from the wing, its miles attached by means of 4 pins. 8:38. The group have to slot the 4 pins from the body into the engine to hold it consistent. The team have to manipulate the engine every inch of its journey down into the body. But nonetheless, they may be halfway, as the new engine has to be set up in vicinity of the old one. 8:58. At Ted Stevens. And that is why the airport police has 58 enormously trained officers. At midnight, Officer Hoffman is getting ready for his nighttime shift, while he receives an urgent call that an armed guy has entered the airport. Every officer has been referred to as to the gunman's remaining known region, the South Terminal. 9:16. However, out of 400 phases, the cops are searching out one officer. Hoffman has gotten the bodily details of that crook and must scour every inch of the 6-mile airport perimeter. To his whereabouts is his cellular telephone. Meanwhile, Officer, Becker maintains the manhunt in the terminal. The police are armed with Glock 9mm pistols, but the gunman has 2 times the firepower on the radio officer. 9:44, Becker gets an update at the present-day GPS vicinity that the gunman is outdoor the airport perimeter. Gunman's ultimate known region is a parking zone at the Waze facet of the airport. Reaching the spot, Officer Hoffman leaves his car to test out all of the feasible hiding locations. It's been half hour, but still clueless, Hoffman asks for a GPS replace. 10H is knowledgeable that the culprit just became himself at the Providence Hospital. Hoffman is relieved because that nighttime no cause changed into pulled. In the meantime, inside the Polar Air 747, the only tone, nostril cowl is the final piece to be equipped, and then can hoist the new engine into the wing. They have to be perfectly synchronized to maintain 7 lots of engines appropriately suspended in the air. 1029. Attaching the engine calls for bolts made of mainly designed steel alloys, engineered to take the force of a jet engine. At full throttle, after a good deal toilless, 747 is prepared to safely get returned into the sky. It's Thanksgiving weekend, and that day is anticipated to be the busiest day in aviation records, with 25% extra passengers. 10:15 in shipment, then ordinary to add to the strain Alaska's. Savage, winter is now in full pressure. A storm has added snow and freezing temperatures. Missed connections, diversions, or cancellations might value the airport. Millions of bucks of revenue. 1108 free all 3 runways, each 2 miles lengthy, clear of ice and snow. Hailing from Illinois. Brendan has been running on the airport for 13 years and has the closing authority to present the inexperienced sign to a runway that day. There are 428 takeoffs and landings on deck. Scheduled Brendan's snow-clearing crew must constantly rotate through the runways. 1132 Brendan makes use of his $1 million equipment to clear the snow, as they simplest have 20 minutes for that runway before they want to start on the subsequent one. Brendan has closed the first runway. Leading the clearing group is Plow Motive Force, Don Potter. The crew clears. The first runway 7 left an Alaska Airlines shipment plane appropriately lands on 7 left. 11:55. Now, the crew heads towards the following runway 7. Proper? It's 26 levels, and the snow is coming down, thick and rapid. Just as they begin, Don spots a trouble with one of the plows. The broom on the 1/3 truck is leaving an excessive amount of snow on the tarmac, with 20 incoming flights inside the subsequent hour. 12:13 Brendan has no alternative, however, to ship the truck for urgent. Repairs over Thanksgiving weekend, 300. 0 passengers skip via Ted Stevens South Terminal. It's a hectic time for the airport police.